Hope you all are doing well. In this video, we will see the topic, we will understand about human eye and the colorful world. So it's because we have eyes, and this eyes allows us to see certain objects and identify or reflect or refract certain lights that gets into our eyes. We are able to see it so beautiful in the colorful form, that's Vibgyor. So you can see that even the rainbow and the different colors and the differentiation we are able to see with the human eyes. So isn't it so wonderful? So but though the eye has been used for vision and to understand the images, it's quite difficult that there are certain defects for certain people that will look across through the video once we continue with it. So let's start with the topic. So it's the diagram of human eye. It consists of various parts, that is cornea. Through the cornea the light enters in, and you have the iris that receives the light, and there is a ciliary muscle. Ciliary muscles helps in the contraction and relaxation, wherein it helps only certain amount of light to pass through and enter into the retina. So once it reaches the retina, this is the optic nerves, it sends the signals to the brain. And this lens, it's purely the original or the real lens that we are able to see the image. Actually, the image that gets into the eye, it is always inverted, but once it gets into the retina and it gets refracted back, you can see that the image as we see it remains as it is. So let's start with the topic. So human eye. So we all know that there are certain 5 sense organs. Human eye is also one of the sense organ which helps us to see. So it's like a camera. It has lens fitted in, and the image is captured light sensitive screen, which is known as retina, and the eyeball, which is spherical in shape. It's almost 2.3 centimeters. As I had told before, that light enters through the cornea, which is a transparent membrane, and behind the cornea is a muscular diaphragm, that is iris, so which is an opening called pupil. So pupil decides the amount of light that needs to enter into the eye, and it also controls the amount of light. So eye lens helps to focus the object. So focus the object on the retina. The ciliary muscles helps to change the curvature of the lens and also to change the focal length. So let's understand now the working of the eye. Eye lens forms an inverted image. So eye lens forms an inverted image of the object on retina. What happens here is the retina produce electrical signals. So certain electrical signals are produced when the eye lens forms an inverted image. So inverted image, when it is formed, you imagine when it's inverted and you were able to look into the world as inverted. So you or me or anybody else, we would see they would be inverted and walking inverted, and everything would come as inverted. But no, the image formed only is inverted. Once it enters into the brain, the optic nerves takes the signals to the brain and it rectifies the image and sends back the image to the eye to see as we want. So this is what is the working of the eye. The major part of the eye is the retina that sends the signals to the brain, and the optic nerve sends the brain the signals, and this signal get captured and it's resent and recorrected image is sent to the eye. So let's understand the power of accommodation of eye. So what is power of accommodation? You are able to see, that is the ability of your eye lens to see the near and distant objects, because it needs to adjust the focal length in the eye lens, as we have artificial lens when we have the glasses on. So you can see that our natural lens is capable of contracting and relaxing and adjusting the focal length of near and far off objects, and it helps us to see the near and far off objects without any stress in our eyes. So what it composes of? So we need to understand, what does eye lens compose of? It is a fibrous jelly like material, means it has ciliary muscles. The curvature of eye can change its focal length. It's because of the ciliary muscles, it helps in contraction and relaxation, that the lens becomes thin and lens increases. So imagine how lens is going to become thin and how it is going to increase in size. So once you want to see the distant small objects, you need to enlarge your eyes and the lens becomes enlarged. So very nearby objects, your eyes or eye lens needs to contract and lens becomes thick and its focal length also decreases. What happens here? When the lens is thin, the focal length increases, and when the lens becomes thick, the focal length decreases. So we'll understand now what is near point. At near point doesn't mean that very near to us, it's the minimum distance an eye can see objects. So there is a minimum distance to where near or far off the eye gets adjusted to see with the normal range of eyesight. So that distance is, the normal eye has 25 centimeters. It might be near to far off point. Maximum is 25 centimeters, is known as near point. The normal eye vision is at a distance of 25 centimeters. Then what is far point? Far point distance in which I can see objects clearly far off from the eye. So it has been told that the eye, without any adjustment, it can see with a distance of 25 centimeters. Beyond that, to infinity, that is known as the far point. So till now we have seen or discussed about the eyes, eye lens, retina, cornea, the cornea where the light passes through, then iris, it reflects back, it sends the images through the optic nerves, and optic nerve sends the signals to the brain, and the brain sends recorrected image to the back to the eye lens, and we are able to see the image in a erect way. So as I told before that there is some defects in the vision, it needs to be corrected too. So what are the different types of vision? That is defects. Let's understand the defects of vision. The first one is myopia. So here in myopia, what happens is the person can see only the nearby objects. So he is able to see the nearby objects, but far off or distant objects is blurred or not clear. That is, the image is formed in front of the retina. So you can see here, this is the retina. It doesn't reach the retina, it forms in front of the retina. So far point, here you can see that the bringing close object to the eye, far point of a myopic eye, the image is formed just in front of the retina, it doesn't reach the retina, So it's very difficult for the person with myopia. Myopia is where the person is not able to see the far. So it's nearsightedness. Nearsightedness or farsightedness are the defects, that is myopia or hypermetropia we say. So in myopia the person is not able to see the nearby objects clearly but can see the far off objects. So for correction, so what is the cause for it is there is an increase in the curvature of eye lens, increase in the length of the eyeball. It's not normal, there is an increase in the eyeball. And how it can be corrected, you can see that the image formed, it converges before the retina itself. See here, this is the actual image, that is the light rays should reach the retina, but in myopic person, defect person, rays from a distant object, it passes through the lens and the image is formed here. So that is just before the retina. So the person cannot see the far off objects. Here we can see that how the correction is done. So here we can see the lens, concave lens is used here, where the far point image, it rectifies, it passes through the concave lens and it again converges and reaches the retina. This is how the correction of myopic defect can be done. So next defect is hypermetropia or farsightedness. So myopia, as I told, it is a nearsightedness. Here hypermetropia is farsightedness. Farsightedness doesn't mean that as per the names suggests that far the person cannot see. It's just the opposite of the word. Here what happens is the person cannot see the distant objects. The person can see the distant object but cannot see the nearby objects. It's just the opposite of myopia. In myopia, the person can see the nearby objects but cannot see the far off. In hypermetropia, the person can see the distant objects but cannot see the nearby objects because the image is formed behind the retina. So you can see this is the retina, near point of the hypermetrophic eye. So it is the retina. This image goes beyond the retina. So how this can be corrected? It is just the opposite how it is happening. In myopia, it was increase in curvature of the eye lens. It was increase in the length of the eyeball. Here it is just the opposite, that there is the decrease in the curvature of eye lens and also decrease in the length of the eyeball. There is a decrease in the eyeball and also the curvature of the eye lens. So what is done here? There it was for correction, concave lens was used. Here a convex lens is used. So this narrows down the rays and it helps the rays to meet the retina and correct the eyesight. So those were the two major defects. There are other defects with respect to the eyesight too. That is presbyopia. We can see it in old aged people. That is, neither they can see the near one nor the far distance point. So it's because the flexibility of ciliary muscles, that is contraction and relaxation, is lost or decreased. So it can be corrected by using convex lens. So here you can see that the image, the normal eye, the light passes from here, it enters in through the cornea and passes through the iris and ciliary muscles through the lens and reaches the retina, where here it reaches the retinal point. what happens in presbyopia is, here you can see that ciliary muscles, flexibility of lens is lost here, and the focal point is increased and it goes beyond the retina. So they are not sometimes able to see the nearby nor the far off objects. So bifocal lens can be used here. Bifocal lenses, it involves both the concave and convex lens. The upper part is concave lens, so concave, and the lower part will be convex lens. So now we will see about refraction of light through a glass prism. What happens here is, when a ray of light passes through a prism, it gets bent twice. So once it's entering into the prism, once it's going through the normal plane. These are two different mediums, that is, this is an air medium and glass medium. Once through the air to the glass is one bending, and from glass to the air is the second bending. So you can see that emergent ray is deviated by angle to the incident ray. So it is deviated from the angle of incidence ray. This angle is called as angle of deviation. So angle of incidence and angle of emergent ray are far off from each other. It forms an imaginary line. So it is known as the angle of deviation. Dispersion of white light by glass prism. So here you can see a prism is placed here, which where we can pass through a white light, but once it passes through a white light, it disperses, or 7 colors are formed here, that is Vidyar, that is dispersion of white light. So white light, once it enters into the glass prism, it forms a spectrum, that is, this is known as the spectrum, and you can see Vidyar colors. So red, here at the end is red, and here it is violet. So red light bends at the least and bends the most. So least means it's taking a very less distance to bend. Here you can see the bending is less. Red light bending is less, but you can see the violet light bending is more. So keep in your mind, Vidyar, what bends the least and what bends the more? The Vidyar, that is violet, that comes out first, will bend the most, and red will bend the least. So here, when white light is passed through a prism or glass prism, it disperses its white color into 7 different colors, or rainbow colors. It is known as Vidyar. So you can see here. So white light enters into the glass prism and there is a dispersion of light. So from here it starts from the lower point: violet, indigo, blue, green, white, yellow, orange and red. So here the bending is most, and in the red it is less. So here previously we have seen how a white light, when passes through the prism, will disperse into 7 different colors. Recombination is the process where you keep a glass prism in a normal way. The other one is kept at a certain distance. It is inverted. So what happens here is, a white light is passed and through the prism you can see the violet light getting bend the more and the red light the least. So here in between there are different colors. So it's Vidyar, wherein it enters and a 7 color spectrum Vidyar is formed, and it comes out as a spectrum. But once it enters into the inverted prism, it again recombines together and comes out as white light. So here we can say when a beam of white light is passed through a glass prism, it splits into component colors. Component colors is Vibgyor, and when it falls through an inverted prism, not the normal prism, if it is a normal way like this, it's not inverted, then the color doesn't change or it doesn't recombine. So inverted prism, it produces to recombine and it forms a white light when it comes out. So that is known as recombination of spectrum of white light that produces white light again. So rainbow formation, it's also a natural spectrum. So let's consider when a there is a downpour, you can take a single droplet of water. So rainbow is a natural spectrum, that is white light from the sun enters into this we can consider it as a prism. So you can see that it's a transparent reflecting surface, a droplet of water. So when white light enters from the sun, it passes and it gets reflected back, and it reflects from water to air and it forms the rainbow here. So what happens here is they refract and disperse the red sunlight, then reflect it internally. So this is white light from the sun entering into the droplet of water is refraction, that is from one medium to another medium, a droplet of water. This is water droplet. So this acts as a prism. It's a natural prism. When white light from the sun enters into the water droplet, so white light is entering from air to water. You can see that this refracted and enters into and hits at the one side of the water droplet, and it reflects internally and it gets refracted and comes out from the raindrops in the form of a rainbow. So due to dispersion of sunlight, the internal reflection by water droplets, we can see the rainbow colors. So let's see atmospheric refraction. So there is a gradual change in the refractive index of the atmosphere. Why there is a change? Because atmosphere gradually increases towards the surface of the earth when it nears, that is, when it nears the earth, there is a hot air, but above it is dense or cool air. So you can see that light naturally from one medium to another, that is cool air medium to hot air medium, you can see that the light rays bend and the real position of star is different from the apparent position. So you can see this is the actual position of the star, that is in dotted line. So it is high above in the sky, and almost the atmosphere is cold and also dense. Once this refraction of light reaches to the earth's atmosphere, here the air is hotter, and you can see that this path changes, the star changes its actual position due to the refraction of the surface or the change in the medium. You can see that increasing refractive index, when we observe from the earth, the position of the star will be here, or the actual position of the star will get deviated from the apparent star position. So you are observing here, real position of star is quite different from the apparent position of the star. Here also we can see that refractive index increases when it nears to the Earth's atmosphere, and the person is looking at the star. It's actually the real star is present here. Due to refraction, there is an apparent star position that we are able to observe. This is because atmospheric temperature is cool and it is dense, and nearing to the Earth's atmosphere, it is hot and lighter. So why does stars twinkle? Here also it is the same principle that follows of the method of refraction. Light from the star, you can see in the figure, light from the star enters into the Earth's atmosphere. When it enters, here you can see that there is quite different cool temperature. Here again it is hotter temperature, or you can see that this light from the star, it gets refracted and moves, starts moving because of the cold and the warm air difference that when it reaches the Earth. So the light from the stars is sometimes brighter and sometimes fainter, and hence we are able to see it to be twinkling. Planets are closer to Earth than stars. The light from stars are considered as point source of light. So you can see that stars gets twinkling effect. It's because of the change in its position from one atmosphere to the other atmosphere, and the layers keep on changing, and you can see the stars twinkle because of the refraction of light. So the light from the planets nullify the twinkling effect is because it is a point source of light. Let's understand advanced sunrise and delayed sunset. So what does that mean? That advanced sunlight and delayed sunset, we can see the sun 2 minutes before the sunrise, and about 2 minutes after the sunset too, we are able to see the presence of sun in the atmospheric refraction. It is the horizon. You can see here the actual position of the sun. The layers get refracted, different layers, when it passes through, the light from the sun gets bent, and there is an apparent position of the sun that is created just opposite to the horizon. It's a higher level of the horizon. Thus there is a refraction that takes place. The apparent flattening of the sun's disk at the sunrise and at the sunset is due to atmospheric refraction. So there is a different bending of light that takes place at different layers of the atmosphere, and there is an apparent position of sun that is created here against the horizon, and hence you are able to see the sun 2 minutes before its sunrise, and also we are able to see 2 minutes after the sun is set. So this has been previously studied, scattering of light, Tyndall effect. So you can see that a beam of light passes through a colloidal solution. So through the colloidal solution you can see the path of light and visible due to scattering light by colloidal particles, but it is not seen through the clear crystalline solution. So this is known as the Tyndall effect. So light gets scattered through a beam of light when it passes through a colloidal solution. So you can see that the ray of light passing through the window, you can see that the rays getting scattered here. And the Earth's atmosphere also contains, what does it contain? It contains air and water droplets, dust, smoke, etc. So what happens is when sunlight passes through the atmosphere, the path of light becomes visible due to scattering of light by these particles. So the atmosphere is not only with air, it has certain molecules, water droplets, dust. So when light passes through it, the light gets scattered and the path is visible. So color of scattered light also depends on the size of the scattering particles. What we have discussed before is larger particles scatter different colors of light. Very fine particles scatter blue light. So let's see here why you might have got the question why the color of the sky is blue. It's the same phenomenon here. It's again refraction of light. Here you can see that fine particles of atmosphere have small size, and it has been discussed that very small particles give a visible light that is blue in color and shorter in wavelength than red color. So shorter wavelength that red light has, which has long wavelength, the sunlight passes through the atmosphere and particles in the atmosphere is able to scatter blue color. So due to refraction process, we have seen that white light gets scattered, and at the most bent light is violet, and least bent is the red. So you can see very shorter wavelength than red light, which has a longer wavelength, is blue. So you can see blue color more strongly is getting scattered than the red color. Hence sky appears blue with respect to the transparency of the atmospheric refraction. So let me explain once again. The fine particles in the atmosphere is having a very small size than the wavelength of visible light. So visible light is what we are able to see, but they can scatter blue light. These small particles have the capability of scattering blue light than the red light, because blue light is having shorter wavelength than the red light. So the sunlight passes through the atmosphere, and these fine particles in the atmosphere, what happens is these particles, when the sunlight passes through the particles, these particles will make sure that the shorter wavelength of blue light gets scattered than the red, so the sky appears blue. So what if Earth had no atmosphere? So there would be no scattering of light, and always the sky would be dark in color. So the sky appears dark at very high altitudes because there is no refraction of light. So you can see that cloud droplets scattered at wavelengths of visible light, creating appearance of cloud. Here also we can see that white light from the sun, it's a general thing to keep in mind that white light from anything that passes through the prism or transparent prism or natural prism, it enters and refracts and reflects, so it disperses into 7 different colors, and the least bent color is red, and the more bent or is the violet color, and the shorter wavelength of blue light than the red light. The small particles will scatter blue light than the red ones, hence the sky is appearing blue. You can see that other colors continue more or less unimpeded to the surface. That is because here you can see that blue light is getting scattered by the smaller particles. So again you can see the atmosphere of the sky is blue. So let's understand the color of sky at sunrise and sunset. So let's understand, you are the observer here. The sun near the horizon, blue scattered away and sun appears reddish. So blue gets scattered by the particles and it is not appearing, and hence the longer wavelength, that is reddish in color, red wavelength, it appears. That's why the atmosphere is red almost at the sunrise and sunset. So what happens is, the sunlight from the sun travels through thicker layers of the atmosphere and travels longer distances. Near the horizon, most of the blue light, shorter wavelengths, they are scattered away. As I told, it gets scattered away by the particles of air, and red light and longer wavelength reaches our eyes. Hence, what is the color that is observed by us during the sunrise and sunset? It is because we find it as red, because blue light is scattered away and longer wavelength red light appears visible to our eyes. So that's all about this topic. Thanks for watching. We'll continue with the next set of videos.